We're starting this conversation because Dwellness has been receiving a lot of inquiries, and as we've been doing parent coaching sessions and short-term therapy during this time, we're hearing so much about the collective stress of parents.
So we decided that instead of just focusing on our roles as experts and our training, that we would lean into a more authentic parenting experience through conversation with children. We're going to begin with my daughter Amara, who is an intense, complicated, amazing 11-year-old in 6th grade, and going to have a conversation with her about her tween experience during the pandemic.
Would you be willing to share a little bit about what you've been working on, how you've been doing?
Right now, I'm not sure whether it makes the family space a little better or worse. It kind of makes it feel, I don't know, it's a lot more complicated and intense between everybody, but I'm not sure if we're interacting better with each other or just differently.
I think you've noticed a few times that you might feel a little bit like, as the eldest in the family, you're not getting as much attention, and that can be rather frustrating.
It can be because, well, I love to hang out with my family, and I feel like I'm getting the message, no, and then I'm like, hey, parents, I feel like I'm not getting any attention from you, and they're like, what will we give you attention? Like the other day, I was doing these school interviews, and I really needed my dad to look at me for a second and answer something, and I'm like, Daddy, you told me you would do this thing. He was like, no, I'm busy, and I'm like, you told me you would do this thing 2 days ago, and you haven't done it yet, and I've been reminding you. And even if you don't think I've been reminding you because you haven't been paying attention to me, and I'm done yelling at your face for things like that, you still need to do it with me. And he's like, I'm busy. And I just got pretty done and walked away.
One of the pieces of advice that I often give parents, especially in the moments when they've described that they don't have the space or the time to provide the attention that their kids need, I hear that, validate that, and I say, okay, well, take a day, pick 3 times, 2 times, 1 time that day where you can set it in your calendar and you can give your child 5 minutes of your time that day where you meet their very specific textured need. So in this case where you say, okay, I know my kid needs this kind of attention, you sit with them, you look them in their eyes, you see them, hear them.
Right, and even, I think what's really important for me to note, even when I feel impatient and that it may not be what I actually want to do, and that's hard. It's hard to sit with. We want to be with our children, but sometimes right now, that's really impossible. One of my favorite lines from a friend was, I miss being able to miss my kids. And that's really true right now. We don't get enough space to feel the missing that's really needed to want to reconnect.
And what we're hearing from so many parents and experiencing sometimes as parents is that right now, while we're so overwhelmed, the instinct is often to take a more avoidant stance, put our heads down, let's just go ahead and get through this and not talk about the things that are hard to talk about.
Right, and even though the conversations can be tricky, that, as you love to tell me, it's also fuel in the fuel tank. It really does allow for time that you can later be spent having some needed hard conversations, or not that I'm ever critical, but sometimes some criticism or feedback that might be more difficult for a kid to hear because you've spent the time that you've needed really talking through in a positive way and listening.
That effort towards attention, to create the attention of that conversation, is the intervention in and of itself and can have its own healing power.